Hi, everyone. I'm here with Kelly as part of our ongoing Ask a Queer Affirming Therapist series. I'm Jet, and I'm here to talk with Kelly about just one quick subject in the realm of mental health that might be of interest to the queer community. Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Crismon. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I work in community mental health, predominantly with youth and children. And I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Kelly. And our question today for this newsletter is, what is one piece of mental health wisdom that you wish you could share with your younger queer self?
Well, there are so many things, but if I had to pick one thing, I would say something I wish I could tell my younger self is to take time to get to know yourself. Looking back on my youth and young adulthood, I spent pretty much all of my time with other people, at work, at school, in relationships. I don't remember a time when I was younger I wasn't in a romantic partnership with someone. And I wish I could tell myself that it's okay to stop and take the time to get to know yourself and to practice being alone. I was so afraid to be alone. I would often, when I was alone, just engage in some distraction, TV watching, but I didn't take a lot of time to engage with myself and in creative expression, which it wasn't until my late 20s that I really started to realize that there are parts of myself that I don't even know yet. And including my queer identities. I was lucky enough to have a great group of friends in college that were queer and queer friendly. And so I was really able to explore that at that time. But it took a little while. And I was always constantly going hard with everything, with work, going hard in relationships and just giving everything my all. But it wasn't until, a little bit later that I started to really appreciate the time being alone and started to not feel uncomfortable being alone, and really starting to find hobbies and activities that, made me feel good. So if I could tell myself one thing, it's that, be comfortable being alone, take the time to explore who you are, what you like, what you want out of life, what your boundaries are. I don't think I had boundaries until my late 20s. So I definitely wish I could tell myself that.
I wish I could tell myself that too. And I'll tell myself that now also. Yeah, yep. I find that very relatable. If I can ask a follow-up question, what would you say that, I don't know, what does that sort of look like in real time, especially with, you mentioned folks might need more self-time for figuring out new facets of their identity, or new to them, perhaps. What do you think that looks like?
Yeah, I think it's helpful and important to consider what self-care is and what the term self-care is. So we often think of distraction as self-care. So like watching TV or just disengaging. But there are aspects of self-care that are very engaging and that are very restful, but also include, interacting with yourself. So, the biggest thing I can think of is creative expression and finding some way to make something, and it doesn't have to be good. Oh my goodness, no. I have 5 different instruments that I've, played each of them for about 2 years. And as soon as I start to get pretty good at it, I switch to something else. But, making music, making art, journaling is an awesome way to kind of explore yourself. And there's all kinds of writing prompts that you can, easily just Google, and asking yourself these questions of what sorts of things do I really like? What sort of life do I want to live? What are my boundaries in relationships? And we get so wrapped up in partnerships, which is great. Like, it's so fun, but it's really helpful to have boundaries of, this is the time that I spend by myself or spend alone doing the things I enjoy. You know, even things like gardening and cooking, like they're still, you know, fun and restful, but they're also engaging, and, you know, you're thinking about things, hopefully not too many anxious things, but, you know, spending time in nature, like for me, that's a huge one. Just like being outside and disconnecting. I had a teacher tell me that, you know, we should all strive at least once a day to spend 1 hour like disconnected from electronics and from the rest of the world. So I always try to remember that. It's very hard. And then of course there's like meditation and yoga and things where you're moving your body, that, you know, and breathing and remembering to breathe. So those are the big things that are helpful to me.
Oh, I love that. It makes me think too of like the fact that I think maybe being alone with oneself in engaging ways might remove some of the outside lenses and pressure to like be perceived in certain ways that might cloud our own view of, I don't know, where our exploration might be leading us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's so important to be connected to community and to be connected to the people that we love. But like when I look back at my teenage years, I was constantly with different groups of people. And when I was with different groups of people, I almost kind of like molded to fit, you know, what they looked like, what they listened to. And so I think that was part of it for me too. That was really hard in figuring out who I am, because I just kind of like moved from different identity to identity. And there were parts of me there, but there were also parts that were not authentic. And so it took me a while to kind of figure out who that authentic person is.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Well, thank you for those incredibly thoughtful responses, Kelly, and for your time today.
Yeah, of course. No problem.